Before this heading, we discussed about the potential at a point due to a point charge. Now, we have to speak about the electrostatic potential due to an electric dipole. Let us consider an electric dipole AB having charges minus Q1 plus Q separated by a distance 2a. O be the midpoint of this electric dipole. So, the distance of separation is taken as A and A. 2a is written as A and A. I am considering a point P which is at a distance r from O. The point P is at a distance r1 and the point P from A is at a distance r2. It is at a distance r1 from B and distance r2 from A. The dipole moment P vector, as you know, acts from minus Q to plus Q. The position vector, we used to call this distance vector distance as position, and you mention this as vector, then the position vector makes an angle theta with respect to the dipole axis. This is the dipole axis. Dipole moment acts along the dipole axis. The line joining the minus Q and plus Q charge is called dipole axis, and the position vector or the distance vector, the distance r from O to P makes an angle theta with the dipole axis. If this is theta, then this angle is 180 minus of theta. 180 minus of theta. Now, we have to calculate the potential at the point P. What are we going to do is that, as we saw earlier, in order to calculate potential at any point due to various charges, we have to take the algebraic sum of the potential due to individual charges. So, I can write here the total potential is the sum of algebraic sum of potential due to the positive charge and the potential due to the negative charge. Potential due to the positive charge and potential due to the negative charge. Potential at P due to charge plus Q is V plus is equal to Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R1. R1, because R1 is the distance of the point P from the charge plus Q. Potential at P due to the charge minus Q is V minus is equal to minus of Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R2. 4 pi epsilon naught R2, where charge whose magnitude is minus, as we saw earlier, potential due to a positive charge is positive, potential due to a negative charge is negative. So, negative sign must be mentioned here. V minus equals minus Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R2. R2 is the distance of the point P from the charge minus Q. So, total potential V total is equal to Q by 4 pi epsilon naught R1 minus of Q by 4 pi epsilon naught R2. When I take this Q by 4 pi epsilon naught out, I will have 1 by R1 and 1 by R2 in the bracket as 1 by R1 minus of 1 by R2, which will give you the total potential at the point P. So, very simple. V total equals Q by 4 by epsilon naught into 1 by R1 minus of 1 by R2. But we need to know the values of 1 by R1 and 1 by R2. For that, we are going for cosine law in mathematics. By cosine law, by applying cosine law for triangle OBP, we can write R1 square equals R square plus A square minus of 2RA cos theta. Cosine law is this one. R1 square is equal to, if we need to know the value of the one side of a triangle, value of one side of a triangle, then we have to go for cosine law here. R1 square equals R square plus A square minus of 2RA cos theta. Here we can take R square out, which will be 1 plus A square by R square minus of 2RA cos theta divided by R square, which means when I take R square out, this will be the case, R gets cancels out. So, R square into 1 plus A square by R square minus of 2A cos theta divided by R. So, in this expression, we can say r is much greater than a. The distance of the point P is much greater than a. R is greater than a. So a square by r square can be neglected. So the expression goes as r1 square is equal to r square into 1 minus of 2a cos theta divided by r. r1 square equals r square into 1 minus 2a cos theta divided by r. Now, taking square root on both sides, or take the square that side, r1 is equal to r into 1 minus of 2a cos theta divided by r, the whole power 1 by 2. Now, in this particular case, you can apply as the condition goes as a square by r square is very much less than 1. We can apply binomial theorem and can neglect higher powers and retain first term alone. So what will happen? How will you apply binomial theorem? So the entire statement can be expressed in a simple way. If I have 1 plus x the whole power n, I will have 1 plus of nx. This is the first term, 1 plus nx. Then if I have 1 minus of x the whole power n, this is 1 minus of nx. If I have 1 plus x the whole power minus n, then it is 1 minus of nx. Minus n will come here. Then 1 minus of x the whole power minus n, this will be 1 plus nx. So when you apply binomial theorem and neglect higher powers and retaining the first term, you will be getting the terms like this. And this expression is of the form 1 minus x the whole power plus n. 1 minus x the whole power plus n. So what will you get? 1 minus nx. Before doing so, I can rewrite this expression r1 as r1 is equal to r into 1 minus 2a cos theta by r, the whole power 1 by 2. What we need is 1 by r1. So I am going to take a reciprocal here. Reciprocal of 1 by r1 will give a different format. So binomial theorem which will be applied will be different. So what we need is 1 by r1. So I can take 1 by r1 equals 1 by r into 1 minus of 2a cos theta divided by r, the whole power minus 1 by 2. I have taken the reciprocal, but I have written it as, actually I will get 1 by 1 minus of 2a cos theta by r, the whole power 1 by 2. If I am taking the root upwards or to the numerator, then it will become minus 1 by 2. I am taking the root to the numerator, so it becomes minus 1 by 2. Now I am applying the binomial theorem, which is of the form 1 minus x the whole power minus n, which is 1 plus nx. So I can write 1 by r1 is equal to 1 by r into 1 minus, that minus will also come plus 2a cos theta divided by, this half comes here, right? So minus of 1 by 2, minus becomes plus. This is nothing but n. In the position of minus n, you have minus of. So minus of minus becomes plus. 1 plus 1 by 2, 2a cos theta divided by r. 2 gets cancels out. So 1 by r1 is equal to 1 by r into 1 plus a cos theta divided by r. 1 plus a cos theta divided by r. This is for 1 by r1. Similarly, to calculate 1 by r2, we can apply cosine law to triangle AOP or OPA, even AOP. So r2 square is equal to r square plus a square minus of 2ar cos of theta is 180 minus theta. If you look at the diagram, you will have the triangle. We have this one as 180 minus theta. This is r2, this is r, and this one is a. So in the position of theta, you have 180 minus theta. So this expression goes as 2ar cos of 180 minus theta. As cos of 180 minus of theta is minus cos theta. This expression can be written as r2 square equals r square plus a square plus 2ar cos theta. Once again, follow the same procedure. What we did earlier, we took out r square. So r square is taken out, r2 square is taken out, 1 plus a square by r square plus 2ar cos theta divided by r square. I can rewrite this as 2a cos theta divided by r. Then r is much greater than a, so a square by r square can be neglected. So r2 square is equal to r square into 1 plus 2a cos theta divided by r. 2a cos theta divided by r. A square by r square is neglected because a is much small. It is taken in terms of square. That is divided by a greater magnitude. That will give you much lesser value. A lesser quantity divided by a greater magnitude will give you much lesser value, which is of no mathematical or physical significance. So a square by r square is neglected. R2 square equals r square into 1 plus 2a cos theta by r. So r2 is equal to r into 1 plus 2a cos theta by r the whole power 1 by 2. Now we can take the reciprocal of 1 by r2. What we need is 1 by r2. So 1 by r2 equals 1 by r into 1 plus 2a cos theta divided by r the whole power minus 1 by 2. And here, as we mentioned the condition earlier, as a square by r square is much less than 1, we can apply binomial theorem, neglect the higher powers and retain the first order, so that 1 plus x the whole power minus n, which is of this form, the given expression is of this form. By applying binomial theorem and retaining the first term, we will have 1 minus of nx. So 1 by r2 is equal to 1 by r into 1 minus of n is minus of into 2a cos theta divided by r. 2 cancels out. So 1 by r2 equals 1 by r into 1 minus of a cos theta divided by r. So 1 by r1 is obtained. 1 by r1 is obtained. Let us say this is equation number 2 and this one is equation number 3. On substituting the values of 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 in the expression 1, you will get the potential at the point due to the dipole. We had the values of, or we obtained the values of 1 by r1 and 1 by r2. Now we are going to substitute it in the expression 1. The expression 1 is v equals q by 4 pi epsilon naught into 1 by r1 by 1 by r2. This is the expression 1. Substitute 2 and 3 in expression 1. You will have v equals q by 4 pi epsilon naught. 1 by r1 is 1 by r. 1 by r1 is 1 by r into 1 plus a cos theta by r. Into 1 plus a cos theta divided by r. Minus 1 by r2 is 1 by r into 1 minus of a cos theta divided by r whole bracket. 1 by r is the common term which is taken out. So q by 4 pi epsilon naught r is taken out. 1 plus a cos theta by r minus is taken inside. So minus 1 minus of minus is plus a cos theta divided by r. This minus 1 plus 1 cancels out. So q by 4 pi epsilon naught r into 2a cos theta divided by r. 2a cos theta divided by r. I can write 2a into q as p cos theta divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r into r is r square. This is the total potential. Since p equals q into 2a, product of charge into distance of separation between the two charges is dipole moment p. So potential at the point p due to an electric dipole is v equals p cos theta by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. There are 3 special cases related to this. We have to speak about that. So the potential at the point due to a dipole is given by v equals p cos theta divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square, and this can be expressed in a vector form as p vector dot r cap divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square, since p vector dot r cap, which is nothing but a unit vector, is the product of magnitude of these two vectors into cos of the angle theta between the two vectors. So we can write this as p, r is a unit vector, so 1 cos theta. So p cos theta is nothing but p vector dot r cap. This dot product of two vectors, which is p cos theta. So p vector dot r cap equals p cos theta. So vector form of electric dipole or electric potential at a point due to a dipole is V equals p vector dot r cap divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Right. Based on this, we can speak about three special cases. One, potential along the axial line of the dipole. If charge is minus q and this one is plus q, this point is p, this is r, and this angle is theta. If I consider this point along the side of the charge plus q, then what will happen? If the point p is brought here, theta will become 0. Theta will become 0. If theta is 0, then the potential value will be simply p divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square when the point p lies along the side of the charge plus q, along the axial line. When the point p lies along the side of the charge plus q along the axial line. So if p is along the axial line and along the side of the charge plus q, then potential will be p by 4 pi epsilon r square as theta equals 0. Now, if the same point p comes along the side of the charge minus q, p comes along the side of the charge minus q, then what will happen to theta? 180 degree. So potential V will be equal to minus of p divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square as theta equals 180 degree. When you consider the point p along the side of the charge minus q, along the side of the charge minus q. Suppose if the point p is taken as a perpendicular bisector, what will be the value of potential? What will be the value of potential when it is taken as a perpendicular bisector? So potential V will be equal to 0 as theta equals 90 degree, cos 90 is 0, so potential will be 0. So potential along the equator line is 0 always. Potential along the axial line along the side of the charge plus q is p by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Along the side of the charge minus q is minus p divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. From these results, we can speak about the important points and important inferences. The potential due to a point charge varies inversely with r. Potential due to a dipole varies inversely with r square. So the potential at any point due to a dipole easily vanishes because potential varies inversely with r square when compared with the potential due to a point charge. Why does this happen? As we saw in the earlier case about electric fields, the same explanation comes here. As the distance r is much greater when compared to the separation between the two charges of a dipole, the two charges come close to each other and they tend to nullify each other, which means they tend to neutralize each other. So the positive charge, the negative charge come close to each other and they will neutralize so that they will not produce any potential at far off distances. So at far off distances, the potential will easily vanish when compared to the potential due to a point charge. Which means if you consider a point charge at a particular point distance r, there will be some amount of potential. Suppose if it is minus q and plus q, two electric dipole, if the two charges are producing potential at this point, this potential will be equal to 0 because if this r is much greater than a, then these two will come close to each other so that the potential value will become 0. Potential value will become 0. So, and moreover, when you calculated the value of potential as V equals P cos theta divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square, this is applicable for r much greater than a. This is applicable for r much greater than a. Suppose if the dipole is said to be a point dipole, then this same expression is valid for all distances. This potential equation due to a dipole at any point is applicable only when r is much greater than a. R is much greater than a, because we applied this condition, r is much greater than a, so that a square by r square is negligible. If r is not comparable, r is not much greater than a, then this equation is not valid for all distances. But for point dipoles, as we saw the definition for point dipole earlier, for point dipoles this expression is valid for any distances. So this equation can be used for any distance close to the dipole or any distance far away from the dipole. This is valid. So this expression is valid for point dipoles for any distances, but this same expression is valid for a dipole only when you bring out the condition r is much greater than a. Then second inference is that if you consider a positive point charge or any point charge, it has a spherical symmetry. It has a spherical symmetry, which means at any particular distance, if you draw a sphere, all the points on the sphere will have the same potential. Then if you go to some other distance, then at that particular distance, all the points will have the same potential. Means the potential value is symmetrical throughout the sphere. And if you go beyond that sphere, once again the potential will be same for that radius r. So we can say here potential depends only upon r. So as r varies, the potential varies, whereas the symmetry exists. So for point charges, there is a spherical symmetry, whereas for dipoles, minus q to plus q, spherical symmetry does not exist, because V has a dependence with the angle theta between p vector and r vector. Means the potential due to a electric dipole depends upon the angle theta between the dipole moment and the position vector. So definitely we cannot get any spherical symmetry here. Instead, you will be getting an axial symmetry. Suppose I am assuming a point P here. How can I say that it is providing an axial symmetry? Axial symmetry is very simple. You connect the point P to the dipole axis O, and this is the position vector. This makes an angle theta. You rotate this point by keeping this O as reference. You rotate this point. So what will happen? You will get a circle. So that you will get an axial symmetry. By keeping the same angle theta with the same position vector, if the point P is rotated about the axis of the dipole, you will be getting a conical shape here, but this represents an axial symmetry, which means the potential at all points on this ring, when you show it with a bold line, the potential at all points on this bold line has the same value, because the distance r is same from O on the circle, so that the potential value is same. If suppose I am taking another circle here which has different radius, but that radius is same for all the points on this circle, so this circle will have a different potential value, but the potential on this circular ring has the same value. Just look at the case here. If I have potential 5 volt here, I will get potential 3 volt, but the same potential will be existing throughout the circle. If I am going close to this point, potential will be reduced to 1 volt, but the potential at all the points have the same value, which means this dipole produces an axial symmetry. So for a point charge, there is a spherical symmetry, because the potential due to a point charge depends only upon the distance r, whereas the potential due to an electric dipole has an axial symmetry, because it depends upon the angle theta between the dipole moment and the position vector. Position vector makes an angle theta with the dipole moment, so there is an axial symmetry. So the potentials on the circles will have the same magnitude. As the circles differ, then the potentials will also differ, but at each and every circle the potential has the same magnitude. We used to call it axial symmetry. That's all. So, as far as you saw the entire idea, so far you are discussing about electric charges, then the behavior of electric charges, nature of electric charges, and then the field around the electric charges. Then you spoke about a dipole, then the electric field due to a dipole, electric field due to the dipole along the axial line and along the equatorial line. Calculating the field due to a dipole along axial and equatorial line is nothing. It is to describe the electric field around a dipole simply. You are calculating it along the axial line and then along the equatorial line. Even you can calculate the electric field at any point due to an electric dipole, which will give you a different value. You can derive it also by using axial line and equatorial line, and its direction also. So at each and every point around an electric dipole, we can calculate the electric field. So the electric field on the axial and equatorial line are very important 5-mark questions, which you have to go through. Then we started with we discussed about torque on an electric dipole, which is of a greater fundamental. The ideas related to torque leads to the work done, which is of greater significance. Most of the problems will be asked in that region. So we need to know the value of or expression for torque. So I can list out the field along the axial line. What we derived is E axial is equal to 2p vector divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r cube. Field along the equatorial line is minus of p vector divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r cube. Then we spoke about the torque, whose magnitude is tau equals p sin theta. Its vector form is tau vector equals p vector cross E vector. These are the ideas we discussed. And then we spoke about the special cases of torque also, when torque is maximum, when torque is minimum. And then we switched over to potentials and potential energies. The potential energy expression delta U is equal to minus of integral r to p E vector dot dr vector. And then potential energy per unit charge Q prime is minus of integral r to p E vector dot dr vector, which is nothing but potential difference. And then potential difference has a physical meaning, whereas potential has not. So we assumed the reference point at infinity where potential is 0. So we calculated Vp equals minus of integral infinity to r E vector dot dr vector. Based on this idea, we calculated the potential due to a point charge, which is given by the expression V equals Q by 4 pi epsilon naught r. Then we calculated the potential due to an electric dipole. When you spoke about electric dipole, we got p cos theta divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square, and in the vector form p vector dot r cap divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. These are the expressions we discussed so far, right? These are all very important ideas. Field along the axial line, field along the equatorial line, potential at any point due to a dipole. These are all 5-mark questions. Torque on a dipole in a uniform electric field, potential at a point due to a point charge are important 3-mark questions. As you go through this, and if you keep these formulas in mind, it is easy enough to solve the problems. While speaking about the potential due to a dipole, the idea of bringing out 1 by r1 and 1 by r2 is very simple. You have to apply cosine law, from which you have to take first r square must be taken out, and then a square by r square must be neglected, and the third one, this is a sequence. If you follow the sequence, you can simply bring out the idea. So to calculate 1 by r1, first take r square out, then neglect a square divided by r square and then neglect a square divided by r square, and then take square root, and then take reciprocal, and then apply binomial theorem. You will get the value of 1 by r1. Similarly for 1 by r2. This is a sequence. You take r square out from the cosine law and then neglect a square by r square by applying the condition r is much greater than a, and then take square root for it and then take reciprocal of it and then apply binomial theorem and neglect higher powers, retain the first term. So that you will get the value of 1 by r1 and 1 by r2. The easy way to proceed to the result of potential at a point due to a dipole. That's all about this session. I expect you students would have followed these ideas thoroughly. Go through it and learn it.